Now, youth crime and RAN rates have risen in Hawke's Bay as in other parts of the country. You, the Justice spokesman, what is your solution for this?
I'm here with Nicole McKee, who's ACT MP and third on the party's list. Kia ora, Nicole, and thanks for joining me.
Tēnā koe, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
No, it's good to see you. First question is, why are you down here in Hawke's Bay?
Yeah, well, for me, it's actually up here in the Hawke's Bay, even though I came down from Auckland after our excellent campaign launch yesterday. But we've come here because we want to spread the word about some of the policies that we have that will give New Zealand a chance to have real change in 26 days' time. 14th of October is going to be a big day for a lot of New Zealanders, and the way for us to get our messages and our policies out there is to travel the country. We love coming here to the Hawke's Bay. We always have a good uptake here, and we keep coming back because many people want to hear from us. So that's why we're here today, and unfortunately David Seymour couldn't make it because the wind was a little bit too rough for the planes to be able to land here in the Hawke's Bay today.
Now, you mentioned that you've got support here. Have you seen that support grow in that? And is Hawke's Bay one of your sort of target areas that you're focusing on?
It is. The Hawke's Bay and the Wairarapa, we're actually seeing quite a big uptake of people being inquisitive about what our policies are, what they may mean, and wanting to come and hear from us. So this is why we keep coming back here. Both David and I were here just a few weeks ago. We had over 200 people see us in Napier, and on the same evening over 200 in Hastings as well. So we want to come back and be able to reach out to those people that couldn't make those meetings so we can spread some of the word about our policies for real change.
Yeah. Now, your sort of strategy seems to be a party vote strategy, even though you're fielding candidates in most of the regions, and you've got two here. You've got Pavel Milewski in Napier, and you've got Rob Douglas in Tuki. Is that still the plan, or are you keen on one of them even winning the seat?
Look, we are absolutely after the party vote. The two electorate seats that we're running for or campaigning in at the moment is the Epsom seat for David Seymour, and we're fairly confident that Brooke Van Velden's going to take the Tamaki seat with electorate votes for her as well. But for the rest of the country, in order to get that real change, it's the party vote that we need that will really make the difference. So we're asking people out there to consider loaning us their party vote this October the 14th so that we can implement change, and to give their electorate vote to the National Party so that together we can hopefully form a coalition that does implement change for New Zealanders.
Interesting you talk about the Tamaki electorate, because that has always been a very strong National Party electorate.
Now, in the aftermath of Cyclone Gabriel, affected communities said they saw a spike in crime and there's still
well, the country itself is telling the pollsters that they're not happy with the direction that the country is moving in, and that is getting more and more as every time they do a poll, more and more people are saying, hey, we're actually struggling with the cost of living. Crime is getting out of control, and the co-governance issues, well, they haven't even been discussed with us, and they're upset about that. This means that they're looking for alternatives, and that's why they're branching out and looking at ACT. Also, the reason why our vote is going up within the polls. But really, we're not concentrating on what's happening there. We're concentrating on getting our message out and how we can have good policies that unite New Zealanders behind good ideas.
Now, you mentioned your campaign launch. What was the main thing to come out of that in terms of your way forward?
Well, again, speaking about our policies on those three main areas, crime, co-governance and cost of living, how we can help alleviate some of those concerns for people, but also introducing the 20 top candidates, those that could be in Parliament representing New Zealanders as new members of Parliament. And of course, none of them are politicians that have been in politics for life. They're people with life experience that come from different areas of life, whether it be small business, whether it be from farming, people who can contribute to make those changes happen and make those changes actually really fundamental, so that it's not about just policy talk, but implementation with real life aspect to it.
But you have had some issues with candidates. You've had 5 stand down, and some would say you're a party of 3 sort of recognised, and maybe now 2 more, Pamir and Hawke joining the ranks. Do you have the depth to say have 16, 17?
We'll get on to prison
I
soon,
believe
but,
we do.
just
I
in
think that
terms
we
of
also
Hawke's Bay
need to have a
is
look at
known to have quite a
candidates,
large,
when they put their
gang
hand up, they're
population,
putting
yeah?
their hand up because
And,
they're not
what-
happy
what
with
is
the
your
direction
solution
that a
to
country's going in,
solving the gang
and they want to
issue,
be part of the
especially in
change.
Hawke's Bay?
And one of the things that I see as well is people say they want members of parliament that have real life experience. Well, in order to have that, it means you've got to make mistakes along the way within your life. And if we have a media who continue to barrage potential candidates based on something they may have said 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, we're going to struggle to present candidates in the future, especially those that have lived their lives on social media. In order to have real life experience, we need to have made mistakes, we need to have been able to learn from them. Candidates that ACT have put up have good values, have good morals, and while some may have made mistakes in the past, those that have made, quite big mistakes, they've decided to leave the party in order to advance the interests of the party for New Zealanders. So it's unfortunate that we've lost some, but at least we haven't lost members of parliament, so to speak. We've lost potential candidates. But at this stage, I think the bigger issue here is actually whether or not we're going to have a media who just conducts himself based on a person's past instead of looking at the values that they want to represent going forward.
But the media was treated quite badly at
Is banning patches in public an option?
Yesterday. I don't think so. There were some incidences, and even David Seymour called some party members out on that. Why do you think that happened?
Well, I think again it's a bit of frustration, but also my understanding of what happened. We actually couldn't see ourselves because we were backstage, so we could hear but we couldn't see what was going on. So what I've been told is that when the protester stood up in the middle of David's speech, he was in the middle of a line, and some of the people that were in that line, in that row of seats, were trying to get out while a cameraman was trying to force his way in. Apparently he was hit, and apparently he was hit by a little old lady. And David did speak to him afterwards, and he said he was absolutely fine. So again, I think it's a bit of media spin on that particular incident instead of actually looking at the bigger picture of the campaign. And I say it was a success because I could hear all the cheers that were occurring when David delivered his speech on key components of that speech. We had people there that were in full agreement with the direction that we want to take the country in, and that's to be able to alleviate the fears and concerns that people have, and they liked what they were hearing. That is a success for ACT.
Well, he was speaking to the converted, but anyway.
Of meeting for example, I didn't meet this fella, but a young guy, I won't say what town he was in, whose father is the president of a gang. This young lad went off into farming, and his father went and visited him on the farm and said to him, do not come back to the city. This is your life. You can do something here. I think a big part of the changes that we need to make is those leaders within the gangs recognising that there are better opportunities for their kids. When we get lazy as a society is when we just start saying, let's do the same thing over and over again. And that becomes quite hard to break the cycle. And I think this is why we're seeing 70 years of gang membership within New Zealand itself. It becomes quite hard. Whoever implements change in whichever government, it needs to be continued on instead of being changed depending on who the government of the day is, because I think that's where we also get a breakdown. It's got to be a community response led by the government that continues on well after that government may have left and a new one takes over.